Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to F2 Worlds, the channel where we talk all things Final Fantasy. In the world of Spira, there are a variety of races within its inhabitants, as is the nature of most role-playing games, all of whom have their own beliefs and qualities. A lot of these qualities and beliefs are based on their history, but also their surroundings and their homeland. Today, we will be looking into the race of the Ronso, specifically into the life of Kimahri, how he went from a shamed young Ronso thriving to be the best fighter of the mountain to its eventual leader. But how? How does a Ronso whose height barely matches to that of standard Ronso stature go from leaving the mountain to becoming its leader? That is what we will explore in today's video, so without further ado, let us begin with the origins of Kimahri. Kimahri was born 25 years before the events of Final Fantasy X, as a young, aspiring Ronso warrior. Much like the youth of the Ronso tribe, Kimahri looked to be the strongest warrior and protector of the mountain, as it symbolized strength for the Ronso. Unfortunately, his small size would often result in him being picked on by the other Ronso youth, as his size was smaller than even that of female Ronso standards. His biggest rivals growing up were in fact Biran and Yenke. Now, I won't go into too much detail about this because I've already covered their rivalry in a previous video, but their rivalry is a big part of Kimahri's journey in Final Fantasy X. Despite Kimahri being a smaller build than the rest of the Ronso, he had an unbroken spirit and would often challenge Biran into combat, with Biran coming out victorious at every encounter. But this would not stop Kimahri's unwavering desire to be the strongest. Unfortunately, this show of courage and persistence angered Biran, and decided to shame Kimahri by breaking his adult Ronso horn. Disgraced and embarrassed, Kimahri fled the mountain, vowing never to set foot back in it again. For someone like Kimahri to have an unbroken spirit and fierce desire to be the best, there is no greater shame than having your horn broken, especially in combat. We know Kimahri as someone who rarely speaks, but it isn't indicated if he grew up not speaking because of his focus and desire to be the strongest, or if it is something he developed throughout his upbringing. So if it is the latter, then I would guess that it was during this point in his life that he developed his quiet nature, out of shame that he had to flee the mountain due to his horn being broken. As Kimahri was departing the mountain and crossing the Calmlands, he came across a dying Auron, who gave Kimahri a request to bring the young Yuna to Besaid, as it was Braska's final wish before his battle with Sin. Kimahri accepted and brought Yuna to Besaid. As he was preparing to depart, however, Yuna begged him to stay. For the next 10 years, Kimahri would watch over Yuna as she grew up and began her training as a summoner. Now, Yuna's character is that she will always look out for other people and make sure they are happy. It is likely that she knows of Kimahri's story and comforted him, creating a strong bond between the two. However, we also know Yuna to be very determined and will always go towards a goal, no matter who and what gets in her way. According to the Ultimania Omega translation, it is the strong and noble quality that Kimahri admired, and thus Yuna became his pillar of strength, almost like what the mountain was to him. Thus, he resolved to always protect Yuna, and when she became a summoner, became her first guardian. This is the point where the game begins, as we see Kimahri's cold and quiet nature in the beginning and eventually opening up later on. He would look out for Yuna and protect her when she was in danger. While he is protective of her, he knows that she can solve her own problems, as that is also his nature of refusing the help of anyone when it comes to his problems, and he will only step in if she is in immediate danger. Since the main storyline of Kimahri during his journey is his rivalry with Biran and Yenke Ronso, I will not go too far into it, so if you haven't seen my video on the Ronso rivalry, I will have a link to it in the description below, so you can check out the story there. Aside from the rivalry, Kimahri is focused on only protecting Yuna, and we see examples of this when he is willing to sacrifice himself to make sure Yuna escapes from Seymour Natus in Bevelle. Also, when he is standing in front of the Chamber of the Faith in the temples to make sure no one interrupts Yuna while she prays to the faith. When the party defeats Sin, Kimahri is there with Yuna and is present when she gives her speech at the start of the Eternal Calm. Kimahri returns to the mountain likely in celebration due to his contributions in helping deliver the Eternal Calm to Spira, and eventually becomes the new elder for the Ronso tribe. Around this time, he finds a sphere containing an image of someone resembling Tidus. He shows the sphere to Yuna and thus begins her adventures in Final Fantasy X-2. As the new Ronso elder, Kimahri has a new set of responsibilities to uphold, such as finding the Ronso cubs Leon and Aid and return them to Mount Gagazet. The vengeful Garrick and his band of Ronso youth get revenge on the Guado due to the actions of Maester Seymour, and Kimahri tries to find a new path for the Ronso now that they no longer protect the mountain for Yevon. Depending on if the player completes all the necessary side quests throughout the gameplay, we see different outcomes. In the Garrick Ronso storyline, despite the battle outcome, Garrick will either resolve to destroy the Guado and succeed in his task, or agree to make peace with them after realizing the error of his ways. In the case of Leon and Aide, they go traveling to look for a new horn for Kimahri, and after returning to Mount Gagazet to tell of their adventures, Kimahri realizes that the Ronso should follow the Cubs' example and make their own paths while still working with each other to create a better future, and that a single elder should not be relied on for determining the future of the group. By the time of the events of the post-Final Fantasy X-2 content, Kimahri is still the elder of the Ronso, but with a clearer path of where the Ronso should go. His unwavering spirit and desire to be the best was strong to the point where disgrace and shame were not enough to keep Kimahri from overcoming the obstacles that are set on his path and eventually becoming the leader of the Ronso, a role that he is more than capable of undertaking. What did you think of Kimahri? Did you like him as a character in the story? Did you find his journey in the game to be inspiring? Let me know in the comment section below. Also, to remind you, I will be streaming on Discord this Sunday starting at 8 AM PST, so be sure to follow me on Twitch and come hang out as I play various RPG games talking about stories and gameplay. Other than that, this is Enzo signing out, and that, as they say, is that.